Do you ever find yourself constantly getting busy with the wants, desires, and feelings of other people, only to find yourself later ruminating about the situation, maybe feeling disrespectful or other people are taking advantage of you? If so, like me, you might be a people pleaser. In today's video, I want to go over some insights that I got off of the book, Courage to be Disliked, the first night, when it comes and apply it to people pleasing. I also want to give some personal examples and insights so you can kind of see what that looks like and how I applied these things to actually get breakthrough. And at the end of the video, I'm going to share a short exercise that I feel helps apply this knowledge and can help actually getting to the root of the problem for true transformational growth. So let's begin. So in the Courage to be Disliked, he discusses the inferior complex and the superior complex and how they're different than being actually inferior and superior. So we use terms like inferior and superior, like, work situation. You have a boss who's the superior, and then you have the inferiors that report to them. And then we have like what we call inferior complexes, where you have a person who's like, for example, totally self-loathing. They don't think they're good enough, that they can't do anything. And then, of course, you have the superior complexes in which, you usually think of the arrogant narcissist. So in the book, he makes the case that having an inferior complex is not all that different than having a superior complex because they interplay with each other. And this interplay works really well in describing what is happening in a person who's people-pleasing. So when a person is people-pleasing, what they are doing is that they're taking their ability to self-evaluate and they're giving it to another person. So they're being like, I have to meet these person's expectations. I got to make them show love. And then they'll tell me I'm good enough to be loved. Or maybe in the simple, if I get all their needs met, they'll leave me alone. I'll admit I'm kind of more the second, where I just want to meet other people's needs, so they'll leave me alone. But, a lot of people are drawn by that love, like they give love to try to receive love because they're not capable of loving themselves. And so that definitely comes more into that inferior complex, because if you are not able to self-rate yourself, then of course you feel like you're underneath other people, that you're of lower worth or quality than them. And that is the inferior complex. But people pleasers also have a really huge superior complex. And that really comes out when people pleasers get caught in rumination. So they do something, they try to achieve something and it doesn't work, and then they lay in bed at night ruminating it over and over again, and they get, you start building that holy righteous fury on that or whatever. You might even to that point, like, that person's a jerk, like, I can't believe that person's just whatever. But then you get out of bed in the morning and then you go right back to them and then you start trying to meet their needs again because you can't help yourself. And that is what people pleasers do. They go from feeling they're underneath and meeting people's needs, and then when they're by themselves, feeling superior because, we're just loving, kind people. We're just being compassionate and we're trying to meet those people's needs. And they just can't see it. So why can't they, so they must be just jerks because they're not giving me what I want. And back and forth, so that's a little taste of some of the things that have gone in my mind over the years. But that's what it really is. We're outsourcing externally for validations for something that is an internal process. And in order to bring that process back internally, we really need to be able to break free of this ideal that people are superior or inferior and that they're rated. And we really have to get back into that feeling and that ideal that all humans are created equal. We've all heard this term. We all like to think we believe it, that we're all created equal, that we have the same worth. Now, we might not contribute the same amount of things to society or anything, but that doesn't change the worth. We're all on the same level playing field. And it's in that playing field where you can really get into doing that internal work for integration. And when you have that view of where people are superior and inferior, that causes tons of interpersonal relationship problems, which is just fuel for the people-pleasing problem. So on that, so that ideal that we're all on the same, viewing it, we're all on the same even platform. So a person might be ahead of you, but it doesn't matter that they're ahead of you because you're all walking forward. There's nothing in the distance that you're getting to. There's no valleys or pits or, achievements to necessarily unlock. Each person is just on their individual journey. So the only person that you're really competing with is yourself. Are you actually taking that step forward? And so being able to get into that space where you can truly feel and connect with that ideal that we're all equal, the easier it is and the better it is to actually draw out of that people pleasing. Because otherwise, then you're just replacing one bad behavior with the other. So if you might be like, okay, I'm over people pleasing, I'm not going to do it anymore. What a lot of people do is that they shove that inferior complex and why they feel unworthy under the table. And then they just go around and they become kind of arrogant jerks. And I say this because I've been there. And just being like, everything, you might have heard it. Everybody in my life is toxic. I'm just going to cut them out. That is an often rebound effect of people pleasers trying to get out of people pleasing without actually doing the internal work. It's still external when you're like cutting people out and calling them like toxic and stuff. So trying to get those things even, that is not an easy thing. It's really, really hard to get the mind to wrap around this concept. So personal example, like I have different things in my life that affected my ability to really take in information when I was younger. I had a head injury and things like that. And so I started off feeling like I was constantly behind everybody. Like everybody knew more, everybody was doing more, all that kind of stuff. And so that really set me up into that grounds of people pleasing, that I always just needed to submit and do things for the other people what they want because they obviously knew more than me and I'm trying to learn from them. And then I would, get into situations where I would be doing all the right things, like people would be telling me to do all the right things and I would do all those right things. And then I wouldn't even get the reward that was promised, like say even a work situation, like, oh, you're supposed to do these and then you get the check, right? And then I would get so mad that it's like I did the right thing and I didn't get the grade or I didn't get the check or, the relationship didn't improve. And then I would go into that superior complex. And so as I did it, and I went into trying to develop boundaries, and that was really hard to feel right because I couldn't set them right without actually being a person that I wanted to be. Like it was really against me to be just like everyone else is wrong. I just don't really have that in my nature. So that was really hard to try to lift myself up where I'm not automatically assuming that everybody is better. And one of the things I realized in this is that when I was thinking that everybody else was better than me, I was really cheating them. It's really hard to view people properly if you think they're better off than you. It makes it very hard for them to actually feel loved and understood if they feel like you aren't addressing or actually seeing their flaws and accepting them for who they are. So that is why people pleasing is very damaging to relationships because it doesn't allow the person you're pleasing to actually be themselves. Even though you think they are, you think you're covering for their bad behavior, you're managing their emotions. But that isn't what other people want. People don't want you managing their emotions. They want you being an observer of their life. They don't want you managing their life. They want you to be an observer of their life. They want to be able to tell you their story. They want to be able to tell you what they need. And that's true for us too. When we're get into it and we're like more honest with ourselves, we want to be able to tell ourselves what we need. So, and to do that, you have to be able to realize people are flawed. You got to let people be flawed. You got to let people have their own mistakes, just like you make mistakes. You have to let yourself make mistakes and be fine where you're at making those mistakes and just being able to observe your life. And that is a very important skill if you really want to be able to integrate and become a more healthier whole person with better relationships in all areas of your life. And that leads me to this little exercise that I have that I find really helpful to be able to get into leveling that playing field. So where you might be able to get some kind of sliver of connection with that feeling of what it means that we are equal and that there isn't valleys or mountains or, people don't start off with this pile of gold or like extra privilege or anything. We're just all there going through life at our own pace. And it's called the Just Like Me meditation. So I'm not going to really take you a full meditation. We'll go through a basic little one, and then I'm going to give a couple of examples on like how to deepen it, to personalize it, and then we'll call it the end of the video. So if you want to take time to think of a person, it could be a difficult person. It could be a person that you chronically can't help but do the people pleasing with. And let's go through this exercise. So picturing them, bring your name up to yourself and go through say, just like me, name. They just want to be happy. Just like me, they get sad. Just like me, they are loved and want to be loved. Just like me, they love and want to give love. So that's like the basic one. So then you can personalize it. I'll give a few examples. These are coming from my own experience in life. So starting a little further out with your boss, you could be like, just like me, my boss just wants to get the tasks done, get paid, and go home. Or a spouse, you can personalize it. Just like me, my spouse just wants to feel safe to be their self in their own home. Or your child, just like me, they're just trying to figure it out and have no idea if they're doing it right. And you could just like do that, like for different people, difficult people you want to please, and you want to bring them up that they're just like you. You are not lower. They are not higher. You are not higher. They are not lower. We're all just human trying to figure this out. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that helps. Feel free to check out the rest of our integrated thought playlist. Let me know what you think about this format, and I hope to see you in another video. Have a great rest of your day.